see where we're at here. And see how this thing works. My insulation here, I'm working on it. It's getting better, as you know. Each one, I'm getting better than what I was a year ago with this thing. So here's where we're at. We're live right now. Showtime at 5:51.
Cool. Cool. As the
5:42 it'll go.
Because you have a red bar
Yeah.
up on there. Does it go to a green or?
No, it won't. It's showing red that it's live now.
Oh, okay.
Cool. And a nice countdown in there, and then when we talk, I'll have your overlays and everything right on this. That's kind of volume.
You are getting used to technology.
Oh no.
Getting used to it, I think.
We've got audio, so what we're saying is being
Very good.
Okay. Good.
Yes, Jamie and I were talking about technology this morning, and we have to help William keep up with it.
so everything we're talking about now is going to be is being heard. Andy at the museum is watching with us, and Rosie Ramos from Needles.
That's cool.
Well, it's nice too, because you're not having to move all your props.
Yeah.
Everything's
Well, what I'm trying to do with this system is I'm going to take this on the road, start doing road shows and stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't figured all this out yet, but it will be. It's really quite an amazing system, and I paid for all this through crowdfunding. I have a Patreon crowdfunding because this is just the camera system is about $600, and this is about $200 a year. But it's all fun and games. Glad you guys could join me this morning. This timer situation I have going right now, it's the first time I've ever used it. That was just a downloaded option yesterday.
Well, I appreciate you having us over.
Well, the whole idea.
Talking about myself, I love that.
Well, the whole idea behind this is the whole idea is to create community awareness, basically.
Oh, I thought it was about me.
Well, it is. It's
Okay, good.
this week, but it's about building a community awareness.
I was thinking about this as I was on my way over here. I kind of look at myself as been here a while, and then I got thinking about the two of you, been here longer than most of the hills around here. It's like, gosh, I'm still a youngster here. Been 35 years for me.
Well, when I first moved here in the summer of '66, it wasn't bad enough that we moved here. We moved out on Oatman Road, below Ed's camp, and I really thought this was the place they warned me about in Sunday school. Because I moved from Michigan in the hills in Tennessee, and this was just not a pretty picture. And my first paying job was actually for Ed Edgerton, up at Ed's camp.
Over here. I think you got some company. Let me go check for you. Oh,
Morning.
hi. You guys from Servat Ridgerunners?
No.
Oh, I don't hear no. You're just here to supervise, huh?
Yeah.
Everything, we're live right now, by the way. Oh, okay. Yes, and it is a wet morning. But the audio is live right now, but look what we have going here.
Yeah. Well, you got your own little countdown. Cool.
Oh, Jim's getting a high camp on us.
Yeah. I still got one of them phones that's 2 cans with a string between them.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I joke about this, but I didn't even have a cell phone until 5 years ago. And it's 5-6 years ago, and I was running 6-volt electric systems and things, and black and white televisions.
That's phenomenal.
And of course, social media concept is still, wow, you can just lose yourself in that stuff.
Yeah, many times it's anti-social media.
Yeah. I you notice that, especially on community comment pages, that
Mm-hmm.
the only time people comment is when they're unhappy with something.
That's, yeah, most of the time.
We got a good crowd building here. We got Ronald with us from the Netherlands, and Andy from the museum.
Andy at the museum.
Now, do they send you like a short text or something to let you know, or they just show who's logged on?
Shows who's logged on with Facebook right there. See, it pops up.
Very good.
Keith Kentner just joined us.
Sweet, okay.
Later on, I'll share it.
You notice he's the only one that gets a bottle of water.
No, it's right there. I brought some right there.
You want a beer? I know you.
No,
Well, let's see what we got. Here we go, guys.
So, you guys have done all your introductions. You and Jim, did you met before?
Oh yeah.
He owns a Jeep. What do you?
Well, yeah,
Everybody knows Paul. Come on, Mike.
yeah, I know. That's what I was commenting earlier. I've been here 35 years and I'm the new kid on the block in this room.
This is 39th year.
That's Jim singing right there.
Well, how are we doing this morning, guys?
Good. Good and damp.
All good.
Mr. Gene Kirkham's with us this morning, and Andy, and everybody's here.
All the special people.
All the special people.
Yes.
And you included, Mike.
Me, well, yeah, I'm the head of that department.
We have Paul Shoup with us this morning. And Paul, how are you doing this morning?
I am doing fantastic.
Paul is our one and only rock wizard. How's
That's the handle, yeah.
how's the business going?
Oh, real good. Real good. It's wintertime's always good because people like to get out, play in the mud,
Break things.
break things, and they're fixing their vehicles, waiting for the cold to go away for springtime, and then out in the hills they go.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, talking about all the great adventures out here.
Oh yeah, it's endless.
I've been doing this for years, and I just never get tired of it.
Yeah, it's endless. You get to see all the flowers, pretty soon, amongst all the weeds, but you still get to see the flowers.
Hey, Michael, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thank you. Very good.
Well, we're here this morning to talk about breaking Jeeps and four-wheelers and opportunities to get out and explore things like ghost towns and
Oh yeah.
and some of the things there. You know, a lot of that stuff has disappeared, you know, because of the access everybody has to this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But there's still, boy, there's so much opportunity to get out and explore.
There is. There really is.
Yeah, I think there's gathering more respect for a lot of the relics that are left out there to go visit.
Yeah.
There seems to be more people trying to clean them up and put them back together than there is vandalizing it. So it's kind of, I think it's getting a little bit better for the ghost towns that we enjoy looking at.
To a degree, there's a lot of vandalism still going on bad.
Yeah.
Just got a note from a fella. You know where Two Guns, Arizona is, up on Route 66?
Yeah.
And of course, the KOA there has been vandalized for many years, but the rest of the ruins have been pretty well preserved.
Yeah.
I just got a note from Sean Evans yesterday that they just knocked over walls in the last couple of weeks. That the old 1915 bridge has been tagged, and
That's terrible. Yeah.
it's just not good.
Must have a new crowd going through
Yeah.
town.
I know in the back country, I've noticed Arizona Game and Fish and also BLM, and I imagine Forest Service as well, but we don't deal with them because of the location. They started a stewardship program where different groups like qualified four-wheelers, Servat Ridge Runners, Havasu four-wheelers, they take responsibility for different sites, geologic sites, Indian ruins, things like that, cabins, and they just kind of keep an eye on them and stuff, and I think that helps. Like Paul was saying too, that maybe with the more people out there, gives us a better opportunity to socialize newcomers into, a better respect for the area.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's my hopes anyhow.
Yeah, to understand that it isn't a ruin, it's a historic area,
Yeah.
rather than continuing ruining it, to actually kind of take care of it and make sure it stays fairly stable with it, and pick up the trash as you go.
Yeah, what you take out there, bring home with you. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And it is, if people aren't out there of that understanding, then new people come in and they don't understand yet. Gotta teach your children, and that's how,
You've got a project though you wanted to talk about, the trails that are being developed, and we're trying to create an awareness about.
Well, right now BLM's doing what they call a TMP, Transportation Management Plan, and they have 4 different levels of that plan, one being to close just about every trail out there, and the one end of the spectrum, the other end is just to leave them all open. We want to make sure they leave as many trails open as possible. So again, that requires us to guarantee that we're going to kind of keep an eye on those trails.
Right.
So we're doing that. The other thing is, Kingman's got a lot to see, but there's so much. You almost have to be self-sufficient in your ability to entertain yourself here. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, it is.
it is.
So, and when I first came here, for the first 3 years, I thought, the good Lord just stuck me somewhere that I was in trouble, and this is where I ended up. And it just finally, coming from Oregon, when I finally came up, the desert's beautiful, and there's so much of it out here. We've got 8 different mountain ranges within a 25-mile radius?
Yeah.
And they're all covered in really interesting and different levels of challenging trails. And once I discovered that, I never looked back.
It's an acquired taste. I was mentioning before we started today, when I moved out here in the summer of '66, we moved not only out here. I was living in Michigan at the time, and my folks had farms in North Alabama and Tennessee, and I'd spend a lot of summers down in that country. So to move to Kingman was a shock, but we've also moved out on Oatman Road towards Ed's camp. So like I say, it was to me it was like this place that warned me about in Sunday school. And Ed Edgerton, I was too young to appreciate it, but Ed drugged me all over the mountains and stuff out there, and I started developing a real fascination for the desert and colorful characters, that lived out here, the dry roasted nuts and everybody.
Yes.
And little did I know I was going to become one of those dry roasted nuts and colorful characters when I grow up.
Yeah. It grows on you. It takes a little while, but it grows on you. And I can't imagine not being here.
Yeah, Arizona and New Mexico both. I can't imagine living much else than this. And Kingman, it just has. I know the situation with the BLM is problematic, but hiking, bicycle trails, four-wheeling, equestrian trails, boy, I tell you, we've got just miles and miles of outback adventures.
And you get to see different scenery on the same trail depending on what time of the year or day that you're on it.
With the shadowing, yeah.
It's endless. You never get tired of it.
It's it offers an awful lot. My history was mostly bicycling till about 80 pounds ago, and so my dispersion wasn't as great as it is now with the four-wheel drives and the motorcycles. But we dreamed about going to these other places to ride. Flagstaff had a great trail system. Of course, Moab's world renowned and stuff. And I get out there and those are very impressive places, but we've got the same to offer here. It's just nobody knows about it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which in a way is kind of nice, because another traveler in the backcountry is congested here. You get down towards, the mountains around Phoenix and that area, or Florence and different areas. You got literal traffic jams. So, that's good points. But being the way most people are, I like to let people know, hey, we got some fantastic traveling here. Come on out and see it.
Yeah, we've got just absolutely incredible things here. The ghost town situation you mentioned, of course, that has disappeared when I was younger. Surbat, Mineral Park, a lot of these places. Boy, there was just so much still out there.
Oh yeah, Surbat was phenomenal.
But now with the advent of the four-wheelers, the little, the rhinos and things of that nature, it does get a little crowded sometimes. It can, and people.
There's more getting out there.
One thing we need to ask is, we talked about this years ago. When are we going to do a Mojave Road expedition?
We actually do, surprisingly. Wildfire Four Wheelers does that usually annually, or sometimes, every other year. They'll do a Mojave Road trip, but we don't get the word out much.
Yeah, it's not publicized very well in order to do it.
That's probably best. I mean, you want a small crowd, but not too big of a crowd. You want enough of a crowd to tow you home, but not enough of a crowd to make it uncomfortable for you. How is that? Now, for people who aren't familiar, the Mojave Road is 1850s, basically from the Colorado River, Fort Mojave, opposite side of the river from Fort Mojave over towards Newberry Springs?
Afton Canyon.
Yeah, Afton Canyon, which is 25 miles from Barstow?
Yeah.
So
it's kind of on the other side of the valley from Newberry Springs. As Afton Canyon runs almost directly into, it would be 15 on the way to Barstow.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to get off of the trail, because all the rest of it is vanished away under the freeways and everything else. But it's
called progress.
Yep, progress. But it's a wonderful, wonderful trail.
Well, it's a lot of history there, that Mojave Road. Surprisingly, I've done parts of it, but that's surprising. As much as I've wandered around this country, I've never done the Mojave Road. So it's something to do. This time of year would be really good, except for all the rain. I imagine it's not good.
The river
Soda Lake
is Soda Lake.
Oh boy.
It would not be. We'd have to go around it.
Yeah.
You run up to Baker and you can jump over it and go around it.
I just had a friend send me some pictures from Victorville. The Mojave River, for the first time in a long time, is bank to bank and deep.
Yeah, and you do have to cross it on that trail.
Yeah.
We did it one year, and
it's intense when it's
Soda Lake.
water in it.
Well, and Soda Lake looks dry. It's got that white crust on the top, salt crust, I guess it is.
Keyword is crust.
Exactly. So I said, well, yeah, let's go ahead and look at that. It looks real good. I'm standing on it. It holds me up. And tires on my vehicle's got about 10 sizes bigger by the time I got turned around and back on drier ground.
Well, that's what, it's like fish stories. Everybody's got a story to tell, and each one gets better with each telling.
Yeah, that's true.
I have to tell on myself a little bit. When I got the Jeep, believe it or not, I've covered so much of this country. I've never had a four-wheel drive, really, until I bought this Jeep. I had an old Ford pickup, 4x4, but it was a real long wheelbase extra cab. It wasn't much good for getting out, like that. And I only had it for about 8-9 months. My best off-road vehicle was a 46 GMC with 17-inch wheels, factory. And you pull that throttle knob out, put about 500 pounds in the back with rocks, and just point the thing.
Yeah.
But my wife, she grew up in this country, and her grandfather, Jeeps back into the 50s. He was hunting and mining and doing different things here. And so we both knew better. I mean, it was a really naive, silly thing to do. When we first got this Jeep, it relatively low mileage, but it hadn't been taken care of. So I fixed it up a little bit with you and did a little bit here and there, and then we would take little trips. Well, we went up to Windy Point, up above Chloride, a big wash road off Highway 93 to have a little picnic. And while we had a little picnic there, and then Judy says, this road used to go all the way down and into the Murals. You could come down the backside of the mountain into the Murals. And I said, yeah, I remember that. I haven't done that in years myself. The last time I did it, I had a 42 Chevy pickup. And I went down that road. So we'll see if it goes through. Well, needless to say, it's not a pretty picture. We had no water with us, no food. We just had our picnic lunch. So I didn't have a shovel with me, anything. Just the silliest thing you can ever imagine. And you've been down the
by
road.
yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No cell, nothing. And so we get down there, and a couple of places you have to roll the rocks to build a little ramp to get down. A couple of washed out spots. I do pretty well until we get down by the Murals, that mine, this side of the Murals.
Yeah.
And it's all just the loose rocks, the boulders, it's a stream bed with all different kinds of rocks. I do pretty good until I get down in there, and all of a sudden the wheels just start spinning. And I hear this little voice in my head said, Jim, this is a Jeep, you do have four-wheel drive. I've been doing this whole thing and hadn't even thought about it. Yes, sir, Bob. Yeah, it's good stuff.
We actually did a state championship mountain bike race on that road. Started in Chloride. Everybody loved it.
It's a beautiful area. Just beautiful. It changes.
Yeah, Chloride's. I always bring people out there.
Yeah.
It's a fun house. It's like open. You got to see the two. Yeah, I know your pain there.
Yeah, it was not a pretty picture. It was not a pretty picture at all.
So do you have a shovel in your
I
Jeep now?
I got a shovel and everything in the Jeep, and we haven't been off-roading like that since. But I don't like to get into too extreme. I like things like Crown King and, backcountry, going up the Senator Highway out of Prescott and Williamson Valley Road, and minor stuff, nothing that's vehicle damaging, shall we say.
We're in the same mode these days. It's like, no, we've done the extreme. I don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah. And those fenders and parts that you keep putting on for us are kind of expensive.
Yes, they are. They've doubled in value over the years.
What's your favorite place out here, Michael? What's your favorite off-road, place to get to?
The probably my most favorite, maybe it's fairly close. There's actually two, but the one I go to most, I fill a little thermos of coffee, and I go up to the Wallapai Park and keep going on Flag Mine till you hit that pine top before you drop down towards Wild Cow. And you got that little knoll or hillside on one side of it, and I'll sometimes just sit there, and especially during the week when there's very little traffic, and just enjoy a cup or two of coffee and have some time to myself. Then of course from there's numerous places to go out from there. You go down Antelope, you go down Flag Mine. If you're real brave on a bike, you can go to the survivalist camp. Moss Creek and all that. But that's just such a peaceful place. And it's what, 30 minutes away?
Yeah, at the most.
At the most. And you can do it in a car, because that stretch of the road is so nice. You could, unless it's full of snow, that makes it a bit challenging.
There is a couple of switchbacks there that I've experienced at the wrong time of the year.
Yeah, I've pulled people out.
It wasn't what we had in mind for the day.
No, to encourage people to get out. The main thing is get out, explore, but have common sense. Take water with you. If you don't need it, you're going to run into somebody who might.
Yeah.
And don't do what I did. Have a shovel and have some just common sense things. A little extra food, and we're going to have a couple blankets because you might end up spending the night out there. But
we have Craftsman small tool bags whenever they go on sale, or anybody, brand tool bags. And they'll have a felt pen one of them says day trip.
Yeah.
One of them says XJ, because that's specific tools in case you're going to go out for the day. You grab that when you throw it in the bag. The day bag has granola bars, about 6 bottles of water in it, and these days it has a cell phone charging battery in it. It didn't used to carry that, but it's got one of those long life batteries in there, and you just grab it, throw it in the back of the car, and hope for the best that you won't ever have to open it up.
Now your shop is out on Northern.
Yes.
And how can people get a hold of you, Paul, if they want to have their broken Jeep fixed or
Well,
upgraded or added to?
Basically, they stop by or call, and many times I don't answer the phone because I'm out in the shop doing what I enjoy doing, working on 4xs and Jeeps, and leave a message and we get back with them and figure out how best to fix their vehicle.
Oh, what's your address out there?
It's 2325 East Northern.
And your phone number?
It would be 928-757-7273.
Yeah.
757, there's a sign of an old timer.
Oh, yeah, it's been that way for 39 years now.
Paul, how long have you been in Kingman?
39, going on 40 years.
40 years, yeah.
And watched it grow up from a gravel road to what it is today.
That's about 2 lifetimes, and it seems like sometimes.
We used to be able to go rabbit hunting across the street from the shop.
Well, boy, now we're going there. For anybody who's watching this morning, we're going way back, going down memory lane here, like a couple old farts. But back when I was a kid, there used to be where Cracker Barrel is, Golden Corral. They leveled that hill, but right over that hill where Cracker Barrel, Golden Corral is, there was a corral and a water tank there, and a windmill. I dug up most of a Model A Ford out of that sand wash, one time down there. Boy.
Yeah, Stockton Hill was not paved.
Ronchi's Cantina was out in the middle of nowhere, and boy, that's going back a couple of years.
a couple, or maybe a week or 2 extra.
You have to laugh when people complain about the size of the town now when it's too small or doesn't offer much.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got other people like Paul here that are complaining there's too many people moving in and I need to find a smaller town. And,
well, I had I joke about this, but I have problems when as soon as Kingman got its 3rd stoplight, I started thinking this is just way too big for me.
Yeah.
You get hung up on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of a small town person, so I'm not not real handy with that.
Yeah, at one time the potholes on Northern, when it was a desert paved road, had gotten so big. Right in front of the shop, we had a small little model VW, and we stuck it down in the pothole, took a picture of it, and kind of blew it up, and that was hanging on the wall for a while.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
So if people want to find out about the Wallapai 4-wheelers, who do they contact? How do they get a hold of them?
Best bet is probably their Wallapai 4-wheelers has a Facebook page, and they also have a website, so you can do a search either through social media or on the internet, just looking up the website. And they publish a calendar of activities and runs. They do at least 1 run per month, more often 2 or 3 or even 4.
Well, I've been negligent, but I'll get information for Wallapai 4-wheelers up on Jim Hinckley's America this weekend. I've also promised yesterday, and I didn't get to it last night. I ran pretty late, but I'll get a link up to Marion Pavel's Route 66 navigation, and I'll have that up on Jim Hinckley's America tonight or this weekend. Upcoming little things. I'm still trying to work out details. I'm supposed to be going to Albuquerque for the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership Conference next week. And got some really great projects I'm working on. And the folks in Cuba, Missouri, that I work with have been very busy. They're the mural city of Missouri, and they're beautiful murals. Well, now with Jimmy West there at Frisco's Pub, they're adding 3-dimensional murals.
Oh, wow.
And I'll get some pictures and some information up on that. Pretty astounding stuff.
Yeah.
Just pretty amazing. They're upping their game quite a lot on that. Well, guys, thank you for joining me this morning and doing this. And where can we ghost towns? You got one that you can recommend that for people who are kind of new to this, don't get themselves into a lot of trouble, but can still do a little bit of a visit?
Well, Surbat's an interesting one, but it's almost all of them now, at least in this area, tend to be just the foundation.
Right.
What's left, because miners never built anything too overly structural.
No.
They were more worried about getting the mining done.
Temporary.
Yeah. Maybe not so much ghost towns as cabins. There are a few there.
Yeah.
There's a really fascinating cabin out at Ash Creek, which is east of I-40. You just basically follow Night Creek on out, and then at Night Creek veers northeast, and Ash Creek you just stay straight. And it takes you to this really nice stone house. And we've gone out there quite a few times. Great place to enjoy lunch. There's a year-round creek running there. There's grass. Just and anytime you're in the desert, you find water running. That's fascinating. It's just makes your day.
Swansea. I haven't been down there in a long time. Swansea is not a bad little trip, and you can go all the way through and then go down south towards Vicksburg and down that direction.
Yeah. And Planet Ranch Road is open again now. Game and Fish opened that a year ago.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago.
Probably been two. Yeah, I was there for the opening.
So there's better access
Yeah,
down
so
into that area.
Yeah, so you don't even have to cross the river anymore if you don't want to. Brown's Crossing is really good though. That's the eastern crossing above Lake Alamo.
Well, to wrap this up, what's the best thing you've ever found in the desert for souvenirs?
Oh man, I like old tools, and I found an old miner's axe, actually still in fairly decent shape. The miner's axe, they were only about a 20-inch long handle with a much heavier head on it, because they used the hammer end as much as they used the axe end. And I really value that thing. It's probably 80 plus years old.
How about you, Paul?
Well, I found very similar to Mike. Whenever we're at any of the mines, if you look to the toe of all the tailings, you'll find whatever the rain has kind of uncovered, or animals digging or anything. I found a stationary engine placard, cast iron about that big, that had been removed off of whatever engine it was, and the name that was on it eludes me right now, so now I'm going to have to go find it in my storage and go remind myself. But that was my two children were in their 10 and 12, and they just loved it. To find something like that was precious.
I found probably the most valuable thing, but you're talking about that placard. I found a truck up in a canyon years and years ago up off towards Nelson, up here off Route 66, and it was just the truck frame, and there was it still had two of the rear wheels on it. They were heavy squared wood spoke wheels with solid rubber tires.
Wow.
And there was a brass plaque on the side that says, "Do not exceed 9 miles per hour in third gear." And it was set up for a dual chain drive, whatever it was.
The wheels will fall
But
off.
probably the most fascinating thing I've ever found, I still have, was in some canyons back behind where North Star Steel is now.
Yes.
Back up in those canyons, I found one of those little rock overhangs that somebody had built a little house out of. Basically, they'd used ocotillo branches and whittled the thorns off and wove them together in a mat, and then nailed them to like a little wood frame to fit in there, and they just plastered over it, made a whole thing. I found most of a saddle. All the leather was pretty much off the tree. It was just the wood frame, and I found a tin, like a tobacco tin, with a $20 Confederate bill in it.
No kidding.
And I still have.
Yeah, my son on one of our trips, he was out walking This was off Moss Creek, and he found 2 mining claims in the old Princess.
Yeah.
This is going back, when I found this was back 66, 68, 69. You know,
Confederate dollar bill.
yeah, a Confederate $20 bill.
Hey, it might be useful later on.
Yes.
There is a little day trip that's always good. Do you know where the Wayfarers Inn is at?
Oh, the one up on Black Mountains?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the
It's a cave, and it's got a metal and tin cover on it, and it says Wayfarers Inn.
Wayfarers
No,
Inn.
I had missed that one.
Yeah, it's on the way to Burns Springs.
Okay.
Beautiful little drive. If just about anything can make it within walking distance, and it's a stream that runs year round. I don't know whether you've ever been there or not.
But I've covered a lot of that country, but somehow I missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the room that Wayfarers Inn is significantly less expensive than the one on 89.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have quite the amenities.
You mentioned with most any vehicle. I should note here that we're talking 4-wheelers, Jeeps, things of that
Yes.
nature. But everybody knows that the best off-road vehicle is a rental car. That's just an unwritten rule, but it seems like everybody knows that.
Yep.
Yeah, you get up near Grand Canyon, you see that a lot.
Yes. Guys, thank you for doing this morning, and I hope everybody will get out and do a little exploring, and check out the Wallapai 4-wheelers. Some fun, especially if you're new to the area. It's a great way to discover some of the things we have here.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for doing this morning.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's great.
We'll see everybody next week.